Hi, and welcome to today's yin class. Feeling a little bit more energized today, and even though yin classes are very slow, it's always fun to have a nice variety in our classes. So get ready for some intense poses in this very short 30-minute class that I have prepared for you. So come prepared with blocks and maybe a bolster, stuff that can help support you on your journey in your yin yoga class today. We're going to get started in a very relaxing pose. So if you have a nice bolster or a pillow to support you, we're actually going to start out on our bellies. And we're going to have our bolster or pillow just underneath our chest. Again, play around with what is comfortable for you. I like mine to be just underneath the shoulders, and then I can bring the arms straight out in front. So we're in this very nice supported alligator pose. Again, just a supported, gentle back bend. Feels like a very nice opening on the chest, even into the front of the shoulders. And we'll just start to settle down here. Allow the head to hang heavy. The back of the neck is smooth and long. Then start to close your eyes, and we'll just start to root down. Feel the hips just melt into the mat. Maybe with every breath, the head feels a little bit more heavy, more relaxed. Even allowing the fingertips and the forearms to loosen. And to find that space. As with all yin yoga classes, the poses will be held for anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Keep in mind I won't be talking constantly for every pose, so if there is silence on the video, know that is completely normal, so that you can have some space to yourself. I'm here for guidance, to redirect you to come back to your breath, so that when that steady flow of thoughts starts to get to be too much, you just get a little gentle reminder that all you need to do is to come back onto your inhales and exhales. Use that energy to permeate the rest of your body to find relaxation. And I know this pose feels delicious, but we're going to start to come out of it, walking the forearms in, maybe moving the bolster to the side, just using care as you come out of the pose. And we're going to push back, bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, and then coming into a tabletop position, just for a moment, just to neutralize and to counter that just slight little back bend that we had. Our next pose is going to be coming into swan. So from here, let's bring that left knee up and draw it behind the left hand. Play around with the position of the left knee and also the shape of the front shin. If it's more parallel to the front edge of the mat, your swan pose will be much more challenging. You may want to have a block underneath the left hip or even a small cushion to support yourself. Our goal is to be even so that the front points of the hips are shining towards the front of the mat and that we're not falling over to one side more than the other. So staying upright here in a moment for our swan pose, really focusing all that weight onto the hips. So this is a bit of a challenge, just being in an upright swan, more so than if we were folded forward, as the weight here in our upright swan very focused onto just those hips. And not only that, but it also is a very slight back bend. Using this challenging pose to again come back to the breath. Breathe deeply, send that inhale all the way down your spine, through the tailbone, through the outside of the hips. You might feel the hips starting to warm up at this point. And when you're ready, we are going to start walking the hands forward and then come onto the forearms. You can stay right here, or if you would like, we're going to come into a twist in our sleeping swan pose. So the left arm comes out to more of a straight position, and we're going to weave the right arm underneath the left and then slowly lower so that we come onto the side, the right side of our head. Now, as far as the position of the left arm, you could certainly leave it out long. I'm going to move my bolster a little bit more out of the way and keep it out in front of the head. Or if you would like just to keep it at a diagonal so it's resting more on the earth, that is fine as well. But if you came into the twist, again, we want to have the back side of that right shoulder reaching the earth. The palm is facing up and the side of the head is down on the mat. Still feeling this very greatly into the outside of that left hip. Check in with the face so that we're not clenching into the jaw and we're still relaxing. Even though our upper body is active and in a twist, this is about sending the message that we're in a safe position and that we can relax. Now to come out of swan, especially if you're in the twist, bring that left hand down closer towards the head and push into the mat firmly. so that you can unwind and come back to an upright position. You can either use the hands to walk yourself a little bit more further to an upright. And then from here, slowly, with care, as we have been holding that pose for quite a while, we're going to shift onto the left hip and draw the right leg up. And we can straighten both the legs out in front of us. We're just going to gently lift the knees and tap the back of the legs onto the mat. And we'll give that left hip some time to breathe. Notice anything you feel at this point. Hopefully feeling more open, a little more invigorated. From here, we're going to bring the heels, swing them behind us. We're going to come back into tabletop just to give ourselves a little more ease to getting into that swan pose, as it can be hard to just do that from seated. From here, let's bring the right knee up and towards the right wrist. Adjust the front of that right shin. Maybe walk the left leg back a little bit. The knee is facing down onto the mat. And you come into your swan pose, but now we're on the right side. Take a hip or a pillow if you need anything underneath. I mean a block or a pillow underneath that right hip, so that you can adjust yourself and then just check in with how you feel here. As always, we hold these for several minutes, and so keep that in mind as you set up. It may not be wise to come into the fullest expression of the pose right off the get-go, because as you hold here, we're going to hold for a while and the body will start to deepen further, and we do not want to deepen past any point that is safe for our body that may cause injury. So sitting up tall in our swan pose, the hands just gently touching the floor or the mat beside you. In this little back bend with our weight directly over the hips, we'll inhale and exhale, relax. And then if you would like, you can stay upright. That is completely fine. Or start to lower down onto your forearms. From here, the choice is up to you, staying on your forearms or again coming into a twist. But now we're going to twist towards the right. So the right arm can come out lifted, so we have some space to wind the left shoulder underneath. Maybe using the hand to help adjust you. And then rest the left side of the face onto the mat and the left shoulder down. Play with the positioning of the right arm. Again, it can stay out straight, or you can allow it to rest onto the earth. The consistency of your yin practice can make a lot of changes in your mobility, the ability of the muscles to recover. If you're feeling any soreness, maintaining our bodies is so important, especially as we get older. you'll find that things just, of course, aren't what they used to be. And sometimes doing yard work can take you a lot longer to recover from than it used to. But you may find if you do simple sequences like this, just a little bit, a couple times a week, that those other things that grind that we all have to deal with might become a little easier. If you're ready to come out, if you are in the twist, bring the right hand down closer towards the face. Use it to push yourself upright, pausing in any space where you need to, whether it's forearms or if it's coming back to an upright position in your swan, and just pausing there. Wherever you're at, we're going to slowly shift onto that right hip and then draw the left leg back and around so that it's in front of us. We're going to go ahead and give those legs a little bit of a wiggle. Whatever feels good. We're going to follow those swan poses with a fairly deep and challenging hip opener. It's not usually a favorite, but it is still quite useful. And that is frog pose. So we are going to move the heels behind us, come into a tabletop, and from our tabletop, we're going to widen out those knees. Again, I have carpet here that I'm working with, so my knees are still nice and padded. You can come sideways on your mat so you still have some cushion for the knees because it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And wherever you're at, you can certainly stay up high, keeping the knees, the shins, and the upper thighs at about a 90-degree angle. You can also have blocks underneath your forearms or lower all the way down towards the mat in your frog pose. And the more that you shift the hips back and push back into your frog pose, the more you're going to feel it into the hips. Very important here to continue to focus on the breath. Allow those inner thighs to relax down. This is a very passive version of frog pose, so we're just allowing ourselves to melt as much as we can in this very intense hip opener. And if you're like me, it may not be as much in your hips. You might feel it quite a bit into your inner thighs, your inner groin. I promise we won't hold this one for a full 5 minutes. Remember, the longer we hold these in stillness, the more effective the changes are within our body. Before you start to jump out of this pose, I want to talk to you about how to come safely out of this pose. Again, we're going to move very slowly. I want you to start to take the feet and just start to angle the feet in so they're coming more towards the center line of your body. You'll feel some of the pressure already start to come off of the hips. From here, you can shift the hips forward. Maybe come up onto your hands if you weren't there already. And then push up with your torso or with your hands and your arms so that you can start to bring the knees in closer to the center line of the torso. And then you're back in your tabletop position. From your tabletop, if you want to do just some quick hip circles, take any kind of movement that feels good. You can be cat-cows. You can come to up dog. Just shift around and get something going back into those hips. And when you're satisfied, we're going to come to a seat and then start to roll down onto our backs. So coming onto our back, we're going to set up for our happy baby pose. Again, a nice, beautiful hip opener. This will be our last hip opener of this sequence. So you can take a half happy baby if you want, bringing the arm up to the inside of the left knee, perhaps catching hold of the outside of the left foot. You can also bring the two peace fingers and wrap them around the big toe, or you can always bring the hand just to the back of the thigh here and draw your leg in that way. I always like to start with the half happy baby, or at least start on one side before I start to pull the opposite side up and in. And then drawing the right foot up and taking that, mirroring the left side with the right side. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Our focus is trying to keep that lower back imprinted onto the mat. At the same time, drawing those knees down and in towards the armpits, using the weight in the arms, the heaviness in the shoulders to naturally draw the legs down. Perhaps you're also using that weight in the forearms to draw the knees a little further apart. So not only are you drawing them down, but you're also widening the knees, separating them slightly in your happy baby pose. Start to release your happy baby by drawing the heels in towards the body, taking the knees together, and you're in this nice little ball shape, drawing the shins in towards the chest. And from this shape, we're going to come right into snail pose. If you're familiar with vinyasa classes, that's much like a plow pose. But of course, with yin, we have all sorts of variations. So wherever you're at, start to push into the mat to lift the hips up. And then maybe take the hands to the back of the hips. And then in yin, I love to have my knees bent and then draw them down towards the side of my face. But if you like to have a straighter leg, feeling a little bit more into the hamstrings, and I am feeling this more into my lower back as well, this could also be a nice option for you today. And if you don't want to take either one of these options in your snail pose, you could also come to a reclined butterfly and join us in that shape. Remember, make this your own, whatever feels good for you. If you are in your snail pose, your neck should be nice and long. Your chin should not be touching your chest. As you can tell, I can still speak comfortably in this very tucked up position, but I am still open through the front of my throat. And then, whatever shape you're in your snail pose, you can use the hands to allow yourself to slowly drift down towards the mat, giving your spine some guidance so that we don't just fall. And then allow the feet to touch. And from there, we'll just send the legs out long, opening up the feet so that they just drop out to the sides. And then allow the arms to come out beside you in a nice wide V shape, taking up plenty of space as we close here for a short Shavasana. You may find that in yin classes, Shavasana is a little shorter than it is in, say, a vinyasa class, as we have spent much of our class internalizing and slowing down. A shorter Shavasana is just fine. But as always, please spend as much time here as you want. Closing our journey with just our gentle breath. Whenever you're ready, you can start to point the toes and then flex the feet. We'll do that once more. Point the toes, flex the feet, waking up that lower body. From here, let's lift the arms up overhead. Take a nice stretch. You can either shift over onto your side or roll up to find your way to a seated position. Crossing the legs, taking a comfortable seat, sitting nice and tall, and on the next inhale, we'll lift the arms up, bring the palms to touch as we draw the hands down through our heart center, tucking the chin as we close out our practice. As always, thank you so much for showing up and coming to your mat and joining me in this class today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get notifications for every Sunday when we have a new class here on the channel. Thank you. Have a great day. Make it a good one. Bye.